Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 189 of Tech It Out. Well, I guess if you're listening to this on your local radio station, it doesn't really matter what episode number it is, but increasingly listeners are tuning in to the podcast edition of Tech It Out, which is great. However you like to listen to the show, thank you. And welcome to Tech It Out, where each week tech is not only celebrated, but demystified. On this week's episode, we're going to talk with a 14-year-old girl working with MIT to detect suicidal thoughts on social media. Wow. Verizon joins us to talk Robo-Callers and how to fight back for free. And we'll chat with Popwallet, which rewards you for using your phone to buy things. You can be rewarded with coupons and offers, rebates, loyalty, and gift cards, and more. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by Asus, which I'll tell you more about shortly. But let's kick off the show with our first interview. Whether it's on social media or through email, I love hearing from young people who are super passionate about a topic and with enough chutzpah to write me and tell me their story. And so I was very impressed to get a note from a 14-year-old named Alicia Aurora, based in Toronto, who is an advocate for mental health. And she's currently the youngest researcher at MIT's AI lab to diagnose mental illnesses through machine learning. Wow. Well, Alicia is joining us on the phone right now. Thank you so much for your time, Alicia. Great to chat with you.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Why don't you first tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into your work.
Well, for sure. I'm a 14-year-old, just started high school this year, and I like to call myself a futurist because I really believe that, and I'm really passionate about making the reality that we all expect the future is going to be the reality right now. When I was in grade 8, I led my robotics team, and it was all boys, and I was a girl captain, and a guy came up to me from my team, and he was like, Alicia, why are you even programming or coding when all you're ever going to be is a housewife? And from that day onwards, I was like, I wanted to challenge that. And I made it my mission. I made it my goal to be like, no. I think that technology, it can be looked at as something so bad and something that's ruining our future. But I think that there's also an opportunity there, the opportunity to leverage technology to solve some of the world's biggest problems. And, you know, I've been doing that through my interest and curiosity with artificial intelligence. I got into it a couple years ago, and it really fascinated me, not just with the technology and not just how we're using it in companies now, but how we can use it to specifically solve issues like mental health, which is one thing I'm really passionate about. I've been doing that with my work through founding a nonprofit called the Hope Sisters, and it really taught me the power small actions have to make a huge impact. That also made me realize that if small actions have such a huge impact, then bigger actions can really change the world.
I love that. So with that in mind, Alicia, how did you end up researching at MIT's AI lab? And what is that exactly?
So as many of you guys may know, Massachusetts Institute of Technology is really one of the biggest institutes moving the dial for AI research. It really is not just the future, but it's something we're using today. And how I got involved into MIT's AI lab was really, I think the power of networking is just so amazing, but really through reaching out and being like, you know, I'm ambitious, I'm curious, I want to make a change, and seeing how I could be there and I could fit in to try to make an impact in any way I can, specifically with mental health, because that is not an area that's too talked about, because mental health specifically is, you know, social media causes mental health issues, which is why technology is so bad with mental health, but that's really not the case. So I think really introducing that to MIT's AI lab is really moved them to having me lead their cause with MIT and mental health.
And why did you want to focus on mental health? I understand you had a personal reason.
So I was actually I just started high school this year, and as everyone can imagine, COVID has been a crazy time for many people, but specifically there was a student in my school who committed suicide 13 minutes after he tweeted about feeling lonely. And when I saw that, I didn't even hear about it from my school. I heard it on the news. And I saw that, and I was like, I knew that person. And if someone were to see that tweet maybe 13 minutes before he suicided, when he tweeted that tweet, maybe he could have still been alive. Because I really believe that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And it's not something that people should go to. That really drove me to ask the question, why? Why is it like that? So I reached out to people who were working in the space of social media companies and wanted to understand why this was a reality and why there was not being any action taken towards it. And it was so disheartening and just not encouraging at all to hear that when companies had to say, we care more about the company's reputation and the profit that we make. But mental health is so important, especially times of COVID. It's so prevalent. Mental illnesses happen to people who are my friends, my family. Even sometimes I'm struggling with mental health. It's so common. And I think there's so many times where friends or people they don't really know how to support someone with mental illness. They don't even know what to do. But I truly believe that technology is something that we can leverage, which is why I really want to work with mental health.
We are chatting with Alicia Aurora. She is a 14-year-old Torontonian, an advocate for mental health, who is currently the youngest researcher at MIT's AI lab to help diagnose mental illnesses through machine learning. So, Alicia, with that in mind, please tell us how you're leveraging technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning to help diagnose mental health issues before it's too late.
Artificial intelligence, when I was first introduced to it, I was really fascinated not just with what we could do with artificial intelligence and what's already being done, but with the opportunity of what could be done. And artificial intelligence, I really believe it is the extension of our human mind. And in AI, there's a subsection called machine learning and deep learning. And that's really just the simple term of making machines learn. Like really just how our brain learns and how we're learning. It's really just doing that with machines. And it really fascinated me specifically with mental health because mental health and AI is a topic that is so unheard of. And specifically with suicide and detecting suicidal ideation, what I did was I built a model. I built a model that detected suicidal ideation in text. And how I did that was that I got over 3 million tweets. I just did a web search of 3 million tweets and trained my model to detect sentiment in those tweets. And how it would do that is through using the deep learning and different techniques AI has within it, it would detect the sentiment and it would predict an outcome of either on a number scale of how suicidal a tweet would be. And I got my model up to an 88 to 92% accuracy. And, I'm currently working on building it to be even more accurate so I could actually accurately predict high-risk people.
So you're looking for keywords? Things like, kill or suicide or depressed. And you talked about sentiment detection as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you said, Mark, I think that just finding those words, it's not enough. And that's why artificial intelligence, it's incredible. It fascinates me because it's more than just looking at those words. It's more than just looking at someone writing lonely. But there's so many different techniques in AI. I could be naming them for hours that really predict and really make predictions as to if a word is lonely, what could be other possible words that would make someone feel suicidal that's correlated with lonely. It can also do things where it detects feelings, detects the sentiment. So really how the person was writing that, detecting based on, different algorithms. And there's so many different complex things that go into this, but really detecting more than just a simple word, like detecting the actual emotional level, detecting sentiment, detecting similar words in order to create an accurate prediction. So we don't really, want to mistest someone and tell someone that this tweet is suicidal when it's really not.
Yeah, false positive.
And with really our model, what it does is it really looks into, right now it's an 88 to 92% accuracy. It looks into the more of emotional level, and it looks into a lot of complex things to make sure that it's actually accurate.
And is this something that could be rolling out soon, or is this something for the future that you're helping to work on?
So right now, I've actually been really fortunate because I just want to make this, a passion project and leave it on the side. So I reached out to people at Microsoft, and now I'm actually working with a team at Microsoft to actually implement my model and save lives. That it's not just for students and detecting suicidal ideation in employee conversations, also in school boards and also in healthcare systems. I think that the opportunity is huge, and it's definitely something, it's still a work in progress, but we're now going to be beta testing our model in many different institutions and places in order to ensure that we're providing what's best for people.
Amazing. So impressive. Before we wrap up, Alicia, do you have any advice for other young women who may feel they're maybe too young to make a difference?
Yes, I think that exactly what you said there. You're never too young to make a difference. And with me, I've had so many times where I felt so discouraged. I talk to people from social media companies, and they're like, this is never going to work. But what it really takes is not taking no for an answer. You got to keep knocking on doors until they hear you. It's not about knocking on someone's door one time, but it's about showing up 50 times until they remember. That's what really matters. It's so easy for you to believe what other people are going to tell you, but it's hard to challenge that. And that's all it really takes, the resilience and to keep knocking on people's doors and not taking no for an answer. And the second part of that is having a passion for wanting to make the world a better place. And when you have those two things together, I think that the options are limitless.
Alicia, I am beyond blown away. Keep doing what you're doing. Where can we learn more about your work, by the way, for those interested?
So you can actually check out my website, which is aliciaaurora.ca, to learn more about my work. And also I have a newsletter, so if you go on my website, I could definitely, if you sign up for my newsletter, to get monthly updates on the work that I'm doing.
Awesome. Again, it's Alicia Aurora, so ALISHAARORA.
Yes.
.ca. Once again, Alicia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Boy, do I feel inadequate. I mean, what was I doing at 14? Let alone 50 years old. Anyhow, when we return on Tech It Out, we're going to catch up with Verizon to learn how they're fighting back against Robo-Callers. It's a free tool. So stick with us. You are listening to Tech It Out. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. We'll be right back.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out, everyone. This show is powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops and desktops, monitors, smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. Consider it one of the most annoying byproducts of the information age. Robocallers. We all get them, and it seems like they're impossible to stop. What are they exactly, and what is Verizon doing to fight back? Well, joining us to tell us what the new call filter tool is all about is Kate J., Corporate Comms Lead for Verizon Consumer Group. Welcome to the show, Kate. Good to chat with you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Why don't we start off at a high level? Let's get everybody on the same page. What is a robocaller exactly?
Yeah, and I think, first it's important to note that not all robocalls are scams, right? There are legitimate robocalls. You might get them from your child's school, from your doctor. Right now there are, legitimate robocalls that are supporting the COVID vaccination efforts. Right. So, but the ones that, are causing the most pain for all of us, right, as we know, are those scam robocalls. So there's many, many scammers out there. So I thought it would be helpful to kind of walk through how a robocall campaign is created. Mm-hmm. All right. So you've got the bad guy, the scam operator. So the first thing that they're going to do, they need a list of numbers to call, right? So they're either going to develop that or they're going to acquire a list, somehow. So then they need to be able to get the call out, right? So they're going to look for cheap digital voice service so that they can make and receive phone calls, in these massive quantities. It really is spam, right? They do these in quick order. And then they'll have that compelling audio recording that we're all familiar with. It could be around, the IRS and a tax issue, or the one that's really big right now is the car warranty that's expired. We know these, right? So, they're often using spoofed numbers. So, it looks like a number that you'd be familiar with. And it's not easy to trace that, right? So if you are answering and responding to this robocall, there's going to be a call center operator on the back end, waiting to, take your money or, whatever the particular scam is. So that is at a high level, kind of what a robocall is and how it happens.
Thank you for the explanation and clarification as well. So even if, 0.001% of people fall for these scams, it could still be lucrative. And this is why we keep seeing them. Has there been an uptick in robocalls during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's interesting. So early on in the pandemic, those first few months when we we were in more of a lockdown, there was actually a decrease. And that's because a lot of the call centers that support those, we talked about the call center operator that's on the back end, a lot of those were closed when there were more severe, restrictions in place. Now, since those, those restrictions have eased, to varying degrees, there has been a continued increase and a significant increase. And I think, we're seeing a lot about that now. People are talking about that increase. It dipped early on, but it has increased since then, unfortunately.
Coming back in full force.
Yes.
And before we talk about what Verizon is doing, and you also just published a really interesting milestone in how you're fighting back, but weren't things supposed to get better? If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember if it's the FCC or there was this new protocol or procedure that was approved called Stir and Shaken. Can you tell us what that is? And things were supposed to get better, if I remember.
Yes, and it's the FCC. I know it's hard. There's so many of those.
Some government acronym.
But no, so Stir Shaken, yes. So what is that? So basically, it's an industry-wide effort. It helps verify that a call is, in fact, from that number you see on the caller ID, and it's not spoofed. So it's specifically addresses spoofing. And so, yes, the FCC has required all carriers to implement the Stir Shaken technology, not related to your martini. This is a technology. So Stir Shaken technology, I say that 5 times fast. That deadline for all the carriers to implement that is this June. From a Verizon perspective, we announced a few months ago that we were actually 2 years ahead of the FCC deadline to have that technology implemented. And again, all the progress around Stir Shaken is ultimately, good news for consumers. So, and then if you think about the progress, so in addition to implementing this technology into, your own network, carriers also need to be exchanging traffic with other carriers. And so what that means is that once the carriers start sharing that traffic, that you're verifying that the call is legitimate and not spoofed on both ends, right? Whether it's a call coming Verizon to another carrier or from another carrier to Verizon. So that's just another important step in the process. So at Verizon, we started exchanging traffic about a year ago and really have ramped that up since then. So that was part of our big announcement that recently that you referenced. So we are now exchanging Stir Shaken enabled calls with wireless carriers that they collectively represent about 80% of the U.S. wireless industry. So that is great news for consumers. So when we went out with that announcement, we were around 24 million calls a day that we were exchanging. That number's already gone up by a few million, and it's just expected to increase as we continue to ramp that up. So, a lot of progress that has been made and that will continue to be made so that consumers, see the results of this effort. Another important thing to consider is that Stir Shaken, and I mentioned this, it addresses spoofing, but not all spam robocalls are spoofed. So, and also the scammers, we know this across all types of scams, they're always looking to game the system, right? So we have to stay vigilant as they use new tactics so that we can combat those as well. And that's, we have, teams that are dedicated to combating these.
We'll continue chatting about fighting back against Robo-Callers with Verizon when we return. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. We're chatting about robocalls, those computerized auto dialers that deliver a pre-recorded message as if from a robot, and often tied to telemarketing and scams as well. Not always, as we've been learning with Kate J from Verizon, and they do have a new and free tool called Call Filter. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, call filter, this is wonderful. And I think, it's great for customers to understand the things that they can do, right? Obviously, a lot of work going on the back end, but, they want to be able to take action as well. So call filter is our tool. So the great news is that our customers on most devices can block or avoid many of these calls at no cost. Some of that, the most high risk calls, that's done automatically. So, those high-risk potential fraud calls. Now, if you want to, kind of change the settings, whether it's blocking all spam risk levels, or maybe you want to keep those calls from going to voicemail, you can do that with the free call filter app. Also, those on iOS can do it via My Verizon. So you get, you're going to get the auto block of those high risk. You can use the free app to make some tweaks and adjustments so that you're getting, what you want. And then, of course, all of that is free. If you want to take that up, a little bit more, you can get Call Filter Plus. It's $2.99 a month, and that will include features like caller name ID, spam lookup, personal block list, and spam risk meter. So there are levels depending on, kind of what experience you're having and what you're looking for, that you can kind of customize that. So again, it's all available via Call Filter. It's preloaded onto most Android devices. It's available in the Apple App Store. Very easy to find, very easy to use. I use it myself. I have it on my personal phone. It is wonderful to see, when you get those calls, potential spam. I've gotten the call warranty, calls myself. So, really nice and a good way for consumers, to take action and control some of those, pesky calls that none of us want to receive.
I asked my carrier a few years ago, why can't I just whitelist people who I want to get through on my mobile phone? Like my family, my kids' schools and all that. Why can't we just do it that way and block everything else? And they said it's just not possible. Have you been asked that? And is there technically a reason why that can't be done?
If you go too broad and too far, then you could miss out on a very important call. I go back to the vaccine experience right now. What if you missed a call about vaccine availability, or an important doctor's appointment or test results?
Yeah. If a hospital called or the police called.
Yes. Yeah, or so you have to, you got to kind of think about it. I get it. I get the frustration. I'm like, let's just block it all. But you have to think about what that really means when you start to dig into it. And then also, we talked about the spoofing piece. So it can look like the number, that it's coming from the number that, a number that So it's unfortunately, it's complicated. But what I would tell Verizon customers, and of course, all carriers have, initiatives that they're working on, is that we remain vigilant. We know that customers are frustrated. We know they deserve every protection possible. We want them to be able to trust those numbers. That when you see a number on your phone, you know who it's coming from. And our teams are working vigilantly around the clock, to address these issues. I'll say, when we started to see an increase post early pandemic, we went right into action, and the results of what we were able to do, we reduced our robocalls traffic between 250 million and 500 million per month since the end of 2020. So obviously, it's, you're still getting the calls, but if you think about, if we weren't doing those things, how many more calls that would be coming through. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. We work with the industry traceback group. We've got all kinds of efforts that we're working on, and we continue to innovate. So you'll see new things from us. But I would, let customers know, just to rest assured, we are on it. We take it very, very seriously from the top down in our company, and we're working to make it better for our customers and, for consumers across the board.
All right, Kate. So as we wrap up, to be clear, you do need to be a Verizon customer to use the call filter tool. But can you walk us through how to get going? I think you also mentioned a website that could also help.
Yeah, so there's several great websites that I would reference. So just for consumers in general, the FCC has a great list of consumer tips how to stop those calls and avoid phone scams. So that's across, any carrier. So you can go to their site and find that. We have on our website some great resources. One is, a site fully dedicated to call filters. You can Google Verizon call filter. You'll be able to find that. It walks through all of the features, how to get it. A really great resource there. So I'd encourage our customers to check that out if they haven't already. And then we also have just a site dedicated to robocall. It's not just call filter, it's scams. It gives more information. So I encourage all of that. Read up and, again, take the action you can and know we're working behind the scenes.
All right, Kate, thanks so much for your time. Kate J. from Verizon Consumer Group. Great chatting with you. Thanks again.
Same to you, and thanks for having me.
Hey, do you get a lot of robocalls? Have you ever fallen victim to one of those fraudulent scams that are going around via a robocaller? Let me know on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Even if you just want to come and say hi, it would be great to hear from you. I also answer tech questions online and get some fodder for the mailbag segment, which I often do on this program. Or if you've got some suggestions for upcoming guests or topics you'd like me to tackle on Tech It Out, or feedback you want to give. As you can tell, I'm pretty much open to anything. It would be great to say hi on social media. Let me know where you're from. Tell me what city or town you're in and where you're listening to Tech It Out, whether it's on your local radio station or in podcast form. I always love hearing from listeners. So on social media, my name again is Mark Saltzman. It's Mark with a C, SaltzMan.com. So again, Mark with a C, Saltzman with a Z, and you can find me on all those social platforms. If you prefer to share your situation with me privately, or if you have a question or comment, you can always email me at tech@marksaltzman.com. That's TECH@MARCSALTZMAN.com. When we return on Tech It Out, we are going to catch up with a company called Popwallet, which rewards you by partnering with retailers and other partners to reward you for using your phone to buy things. You can attach coupons and offers to your phone and rebates, your loyalty and gift card info, and more. But I'll let our guest from Popwallet explain, do a much better job than I can. We'll talk with the founder and CEO, Elias Guerra, when we return, based in New York, so stick with us. We'll be right back, so don't touch that dial. You're listening to Tech It Out on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. Talk to you in a moment.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out, powered by ASUS. For those in search of incredible, check out all the ASUS laptops at asus.com/US/radio. And that includes its ZenBooks, VivoBooks, Chromebooks, and ExpertBooks, as well as its gaming line, the ROG or Republic of Gamers branded laptops with a ton of power under the hood, all at asus.com/US/radio. Millions of people like to pay for items at retail using their smartphones or smartwatches. And I don't suspect it'll take long before we're talking about hundreds of millions of people. It's fast and easy, safe and secure. And there are some other benefits to using mobile payment systems too, like Apple Wallet and Google Pay, as we're going to now hear about with Elias Guerra, founder and CEO of Popwallet. Welcome to the show, Elias.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be with you today.
Now, before we talk about Popwallet, to what do you attribute the popularity of mobile payments? I did say off the top it's easy. You just tap your wrist or your phone and you're good to go.
I think you nailed it. I mean, it really does come down to the simplicity of using your phone. So much of people's behavior is just based on that smartphone. You think about that phone's with us all the time, and the idea of just holding it up and tapping on something to make your payment, it's just a better way of doing it as opposed to carrying your credit cards or cash or those more traditional ways of paying for things.
I remember once I took my youngest son to a theme park, like an amusement park, and my wife dropped us off. And I forgot my wallet, which is pretty rare, but it was embarrassing. And then, I want to buy my son lunch. So I remembered, of course, I had my phone, and I just tapped the little contactless terminal to buy him some lunch. And it was like, wow, this is really the future. And this is going back a number of years. It's caught on, but there's a lot of growth opportunities here. So with that in mind, Elias, payment systems like Apple Pay and Android Pay, Samsung Pay, they all seem to work well, but are they missing something?
Yeah, I mean, the payment side of these wallets, they do work really well. And I think people are really adopting them. I think you can look at that consumer behavior from a few different lenses. One, globally, certainly in other markets outside of the U.S., the idea of using one's phone to buy something, that's been around for a while. Markets like China, other parts of Asia, that's just how commerce is transacted, and it's very mature there. When we look at the U.S., it really has increased rapidly this past year, driven largely in part from the pandemic. But more and more people, they're using their phones to pay for things. And I think that is fairly mature. Where I think that there's more opportunity and where we're seeing a lot of behavior shift is on that other side of the wallet. It's really anything. Think about payments, paper cash, plastic credit cards, right? That's natively in the wallet now. But all those other paper and plastic experiences, from your gift cards to your coupons to your loyalty cards to even more interesting things like your passport, your identification, your potentially your COVID vaccination certificate, all these other things that were traditionally paper and plastic belong in the smartphone. And the question is, well, do they belong in some third-party app, or does the place that makes the most sense, is it that pre-installed ubiquitous mobile wallet that comes on the smartphone itself? So that's where we see that right now there's a little bit of gap between what's possible and what's currently being delivered, but that's where we see the big opportunity going forward.
And so that's where Popwallet comes in. Talk to us about what it is and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So Popwallet, we call ourselves a mobile wallet marketing and customer experience management platform. But really what we are, we're a software company that provides tools for brands, for companies to engage their customers through mobile wallets. That engagement, it might look like a dynamic coupon or offer or a rebate, a gift card or a loyalty card, a ticket, other branded content. And the idea is when a brand, and the types of companies we work with are primarily CPG, so those consumer packaged goods companies, and then retailers. So if you're a store or if you have products that are sold in store, you're a great candidate for working with Popwallet, and they'll use us because they'll want to deliver these types of experiences to consumers through the mobile wallet. The mobile wallet that, as we touched on, consumers are using more and more every day.
Right. Can you give us an example? And it's up to you if you want to plug a brand that you're working with and or a retailer, but maybe walk us through an example, loyalty card or a gift card. How would that work?
Yeah. So the thing is we're actually appless. When we started the company a few years ago, it was having come from the mobile app space and seeing how difficult it is to build a good app, acquire users of that app, retain and re-engage those same users. And so when we built Popwallet to be a B2B platform for those types of brands, those CPG and retail brands that don't want to or don't have to engage people through apps. And so the app that we enable our customers to work through are those mobile wallets, the Apple Wallet, the Google Pay, those mobile wallets that come pre-installed. So as a consumer, you're not going to see Popwallet anywhere out there in the market.
Got it.
But what you might see is a gift card for Snickers or a coupon for Hot Pocket. Maybe you'll sign up for David's Bridal's loyalty program. So those brands and retailers leveraging mobile wallets to engage their customers, that's how you as a consumer would encounter what we provide.
So if somebody's listening and they're like, oh, I love this idea, and I use my iPhone, for example, to tap those touchless terminals to buy something, how would we know about Popwallet? Is it a digital coupon that we would see from sent to us over email or a text message from a retailer?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And it'll be branded as that retailer or as that consumer product good. And so an example of how you might encounter what Popwallet enables in market is maybe you're in Snapchat and you're going from story to story, and then all of a sudden you see an advertisement. It's a short clip from Adidas, and Adidas is doing some branding there, and they say, save 20% off your next purchase. Well, you could swipe up on that, and you would have an offer that you could then save into your mobile wallet and go use it later in store.
We'll continue chatting with Elias Guerra from Popwallet when we return. Stay with us.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting with Elias Guerra, founder and CEO of Popwallet. Their mission is to help increase brand loyalty while providing an enriched customer experience. Before the break, we were talking about advantages for the consumer and for the business, if you want to continue that thought. Thanks, Elias.
Yeah, for the consumer, it's really where it adds the most value, or for those use cases where I'm probably not going to tap through and buy my shoes then and there, right? I'm going to go to the Adidas store. Maybe I'm going to do it this weekend, right? Today's a Wednesday. So I want to save it. I want to act on it later. And the benefit for the brand is that once the consumer saves it to their wallet, well, they can communicate with that consumer. They can remind the consumer they have it there. They can really engage and make it easier for that consumer to redeem that offer. And the benefit for the consumer, if ever you've saved in your mobile wallet, maybe your boarding pass or a movie ticket back in the day, right? Remember when we used to go to movies? But somehow it knows you're at the airport. It knows you're near the movie theater, or it's just about showtime, and it'll pop up on your lock screen. And the idea is to make it easier for consumers to really use that and engage with the brand.
You mentioned the phrase dynamic coupons a little bit earlier in our chat. What is that exactly?
Yeah, it's a living and breathing coupon. And think about, how coupons traditionally were delivered in the past, often a piece of paper. Maybe you got it out of your Sunday paper. That's static. It's transactional. It's a one-time use. And that can be expensive for a brand and, expensive for the environment, frankly. You think about those trees that are cut down to deliver that. What a dynamic coupon is take that same experience, but save it in your phone. And now as a consumer, I can go and I can use it. I can redeem it in a store, but then it stays in there. It stays in my wallet. And so what the brand can do is then what's that next message, that next coupon, the next coupon value that they want to deliver to you, the consumer, instead of sending that paper coupon to you through direct mail or in the Sunday paper again. They can directly update your coupon in your wallet and deliver you that new coupon. And they can message you, remind you if it's about to expire. So it's dynamic in the fact that it lives and breathes for that consumer. And again, the idea is that it makes it easier for the consumer to use and adds value to their shopping experience.
Yeah, very cool. I got it. All right. And I asked you earlier about the benefits for the consumer, but obviously benefits for the retailer is that it does enrich the customer experience, probably makes that brand stickier, the value proposition there for the customer. So when you're talking with retailers and trying to sign them up on this platform, is there anything that they need to know or any hoops they need to jump through in order to pull the trigger on this?
It's pretty simple to get started, and it really depends on what type of program the brand or retailer is looking to deliver to their consumers. So we typically work with them to understand that and get them up and running on our platform. What we find from our customers, is they're looking to satisfy their consumers' needs, right? Their shopper needs. And what, especially in the past year, a big need has been that need to remain contactless and safe. And you think about our own shopping experiences when you're in a store, you're probably not really wanting to touch anything right anymore, any more than you have to. And so that's really what's driving a lot of our conversations with brands and retailers today, is their customers asking them to keep them safe and help them shop and interact with the brand in the way that they want to. So that's a big part of the value proposition for both consumer and brand today.
And to clarify, this is more for retail, not for online shopping.
Well, you can use it online too, but the best application really is for in-store. So for physical retail, if you're a store, or if you sell products, if you're a consumer product good and you sell products in store, that's really where the mobile wallet can add the most value. It's bridging that mobile usage, that engagement with some real world behavior.
And just as we wrap up, Elias, it does work with the two biggest digital wallets. I'm assuming Apple Pay and Google Pay?
That's right. Yeah. Apple Pay and Apple Wallet on iOS devices, of which there are about 1 billion across the globe, and then on Android devices through Google Pay are the platforms that we support today, and which there are another couple billion devices with Android.
Just a couple of billion. And best website is popwallet.com.
It's just popwallet.com. That's the easiest way to find us.
Okay, popwallet.com. We've been chatting with Elias Guerra, founder and CEO of the company. Pleasure chatting with you. I hope you have a great spring, and congratulations on the success of Popwallet.
Thank you so much, Mark. Great speaking with you too.
Speaking of using your mobile phone, last week on the program, I talked to you about the new SanDisk iXpand Luxe, L-U-X-E. If you're an iPhone user, you know how difficult it can be to get photos and videos off of the iPhone in order to free up space for more downloads and other photos and videos. So this $99 thumb drive snaps into the lightning port of your iPhone, launches its app, and then lets you select those photos and videos to back up, and if you want, delete off your iPhone in full resolution, by the way. Then on the other end of that little thumb drive is a USB-C port, so you can plug it into a PC or a Mac or even an Android device and copy over those memories for safekeeping. How cool is that? Again, that's the SanDisk iXpand Luxe. Thank you so much for tuning in to Tech It Out this hour. I hope you enjoyed the program. Have a healthy and happy week ahead. Hope you and your loved ones are getting vaccinated. and enjoying the better weather out there, the longer days, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend for another episode of Tech It Out. Be well. Ciao.